Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Sun Up on 7. I hope that you're excited as I am to have this important conversation about something that's innovative in Belize and in the Caribbean region in addressing HIV. Before we get into this conversation with representatives from the National AIDS Commission and also Belize Family Life Association, let me just give you some insight into what is Belize like when it comes to HIV. Belize currently has about 4,000 persons that are living with HIV, and the persons that are mostly affected are young men. So persons between the ages of 19 to 24 are mostly affected by it. And of course, there has been a lot of progress that has been coming in and ensuring that people are able to access HIV tests, access medication, and of course, live longer because now HIV is no longer a death sentence. So one of the cool things that is happening in Belize is the HIV Self Testing pilot project that's happening. So to talk us more about that, we have Mr. Kieran Cacho, who's the Monitoring and Evaluations Officer of the Belize Civil Society Hub. Kieran, good morning. It's so good to have you on Sun Up on 7. How are you feeling this morning?
Good morning. Finally, I'm on the show.
Yes, finally. I've been pushing Kieran to be here for a while. So it's good to have you.
We got you virtually. Why couldn't we get you in person?
It was literally too early to do everything.
So you want to come on that morning show, but you don't want to get up early.
Something like that.
Well, we're glad to at least have you virtually. It's a good conversation. Well, it's an amazing conversation to have. Like Kevin was rightfully saying, I think they're groundbreaking work to be able to get to this point. And what's super important we hone in on, I'm hoping it echoes to all our viewers out there, whatever age is, whatever gender is, HIV is not a death sentence. So let's not think in that way, and let's expand our horizons how we think about HIV. And so I want to ask, in regards to this pilot, when you hear about pilot, that means, of course, it's not being rolled out fully as yet. We're going to start off small. Can you tell me exactly, how will this pilot really run when it comes to self-testing? Because is it like a small community? You picked up some people. How is it going to be running so people could understand the magnitude of this pilot?
Okay, well, the pilot of this self-testing is an initiative that Belize is catching up on as it pertains to ensuring that our community or populace have various options of seeking services as it pertains to HIV and AIDS. And so finally, Belize is in the mix, and we're starting off with a small pilot out of about 50 self-testing kits and being administered for right now for one of our key affected population when it pertains to the prevalence rate of HIV. Currently, in collaboration or spearheaded by the National AIDS Commission, we're looking at the MSM population, that's the men having sex with men population, specifically because of the prevalence rate within that populace. And now, like I mentioned, it's just a pilot for about a month or a little bit over a month. And then we'll see how that can be. We'll look at the data that has been collected, and then we will also see how that can be, or the country itself can, do a larger enrollment into the communities itself.
Kieran, so thank you for sharing that. So why is it important for MSM or men that have sex with men to be able to be the priority in having access to HIV self-testing?
There are various reasons. One of the lead reasons is the amount of HIV that is prevalent within the population. Second of all, this community is one of these communities that has, whether itself or is perceived or actual stigma and discrimination when it comes to accessing services as it pertains to HIV and AIDS. So we want to ensure that even though we have statistics that shows that HIV is, of course, still prevalent within our community, there's still a minimum amount of men having sex with men population accessing these services. So again, for scaling up and of course, providing a variety of modes or modalities of accessing these services, it was key for us to, get on that ball.
Interesting. So Kieran, tell me something. I know you mentioned it's about over 50 people. You're doing the MSM, but do you give these tests to them and you kind of just give that faith or confidence that they're going to be telling you what's happening? Because my thing where I think many people are concerned about when you have self-testing is what then happens with the results. So you decide to get this test and you find out, okay, I am HIV positive. What do I do now? Will I be so taken aback by these results that I tell no one and I lie to myself and I just carry on with my life and just go on? Or do I try to talk to a representative? Because the beauty that many people see in having, HIV test from a professional is if you are positive, that person can be able to calm you down, coach you and be like, okay, this is not the end of the world. Let's try to see how we can be able to treat this and what we can do from there. So with this pilot, how does it work when it comes to seeing how accurate or how relevant it can be when it comes to doing self-testing?
Right. So the test that Belicity is administering is the Aura Quick test. Is one of those tests that utilize that seeks the antibodies within the mouth and through the saliva itself, and even blood products that might exist in the cavity or the mouth itself. And so what happens is that because it's a pilot phase at this point in time, we would have it's not going to be enrolled out as a self kit whereby you would take this home and then go ahead and administer this test. Because it's a pilot phase, we're utilizing both BFLA and the Civil Society Hub organization, which is currently governed by Gobolees in Belmopan, to use these two stations or these office settings to assist in administering this test, whereby the individual will access these tests, but they would access these tests with the support of the staff from both entities. So what would happen is that you would have an individual that will literally have a package of the test. And I think I have a copy of the test and a package of this. And we would guide them through the process. They would go through that process, follow the instructions. And then after that, we would assist with the reading of the results itself and then help with the connection of follow-up care. And that's how we're going to do the pilot at this point in time. And then we would definitely, again, our role, of course, is not only just to monitor the process, but to assist those who would need any other supportive care. And that's how we're going to do it for now. After the pilot phase, the idea is that, yes, these kits would be available for individuals to utilize and take them in the comfort of their homes or other settings. And then we would have other mechanisms, exciting mechanisms to help in terms of providing other necessary services when accessing this specific test.
Yeah. So what I want to add, Ren, is that you asked what happens after somebody gets a reactive result on a test. Let me just say that the algorithm for somebody to diagnose as HIV positive is that there needs to be 3 tests done for you to say,
Right.
I am HIV positive. So if the person has a reactive result on this testing that they're going to be doing, it means that they need to go for 2 other tests to confirm that. It follows the same methodology as you getting a pregnancy test. So you would get one and then you would go to your doctor for follow-up and then to ensure that, okay, yes, I am pregnant. So it's kind of like the same thinking. And also another advantage of having this Aura Quick is that you just swab your cheek. Because some people have some sort of fear about getting an injection or
The
seeing
needles.
blood. So that no longer has to be that process.
I'm one of those people. I'm not afraid to say I do not like
I'm
needles.
out here. I hate needles too.
Oh,
but
you're
I-
the team
like,
no needles party?
I hate needles, but I just like doing that to other persons as well. It brings me joy.
Hear it.
But nonetheless, I'm telling you, it's definitely for those persons who have a phobia of needles, it assists them a lot. And I think for many people who still would want this information to just be theirs, the experience of that autonomy to you doing the test itself is something that definitely I think a lot of persons, a lot of individuals are looking forward to. Now, I think there's a lot of work that we'll still need to do in terms of ensuring that individuals do have access to the necessary information, whether that results come out positive. And like what Kevin mentioned before, a positive reading can still mean a lot. And you'll have to do other confirmatory tests to ensure the necessary follow-ups that is needed.
Great.
Yeah, most definitely. I think that for me would be maybe something that definitely needs to be analyzed because for an average person, if you're getting a test, you got the first reactive and then maybe the second one was not reactive, but then the third one is reactive. So like, I think for me, if that would happen, I'm like, wait, I confused. What do I do? And so it's really something where like I appreciate that now the pilot is still like they're doing the testing, but there's still gonna be there around professionals that can be able to explain that process to them. But we will be getting to a point, I believe, that you could take your test home. And so now then we're gonna be have to looking at how we combat you being at home, dealing with this by yourself.
Yeah, yeah. So we have Kyla Siego who has joined the conversation. Kyla, of course, is no new face to Sun Up on 7. So Kyla, good morning. Thank you for joining us. How are you today?
Hi, I'm pretty good.
It's good to have you. It's good to have you with us. Kyla, so we're talking about HIV self-testing. And so Kieran has mentioned basically how this process is going to go, where people would walk into Belmopan at the Civil Society Hub or BFLA to access the testing. What I want to ask you is, for the persons that are interested in accessing HIV self-care, how do we mentally prepare ourselves to say, I want to go and access an HIV self-test? Can you guide us through there?
Okay, so in most instances, persons might be hesitant to do an HIV test, but your mind keeps bugging you that you to do this, particularly if you've had perhaps some risky activity or you're not sure if maybe you were exposed, and it comes up to be in the mind. So one of the ways that a person could combat that definitely is doing their own aspects of reading up before you go into the clinic. Get more information.
Kyla, we're having some technical difficulties where you keep on like slowing down. Okay. All right. So if you can go back to where you started, maybe we can catch up now.
Okay. So
yeah.
I was saying aspect would be.
Okay. So. All right. So we're having some.
Yeah, Kyla, we're having a bit of technical difficulties because of your internet connection. So it's kind of like slowing down, and so we're not hearing. It's kind of like a buffer happening. So possibly if you can go closer to your modem, where the connection is a bit stronger, can be able to hear you a little bit clearer. So if that's possible, we'd love to be able to get that answer from you. And so in the meantime, we're just going to be jumping on and talking to Kieran in the meantime, just so you can get your bandwidth together.
Yeah. So Kieran, if you can answer that question for us, how can somebody prepare themselves to go and access an HIV self-test?
I think what Kyla was saying, and I agree with this, I could give you an example that happened to me. I was offering, my profession has always been for a long while, providing services, promoting HIV services. And the funny thing, it took about 8 years of me doing this to actually go ahead and do my test itself. That was something else. I think that there needs to be an education, and at the same time, a self-recognition of what is important for you, especially when it comes to your sexual health. And I think sometimes that burden is there. It needs to be there in order for individuals to want to access services. If not, then we need to, as a community, to provide education as to why it's very important for persons to, know their status and their larger health itself. Acknowledge health is wealth, and at the end of the day, just being able to. When individuals are ready, they are ready. But we need to do more in terms of ensuring that people have access to, sexually reproductive health services, specifically when it comes to HIV testing, because early detection, it has better health outcomes for that individual.
Definitely.
Kieran and Kevin, I also want to, it's not a question, but a comment towards what I'm saying. And hopefully Kieran can answer the question now. Kevin mentioned about how you can be able to look up your information ahead of time, right? Before you get under preparation. And I don't have a problem with that. But what I do have to say towards that, and I guess as devil's advocate, is I don't know if you know that sometimes when people start looking up information, that gets them more overwhelmed than anything else. And they get scared because they're like seeing all of this data. And sometimes they look up the images where they're not supposed to look up. And they're just like, oh, I don't want to do this again. So what do you think is a good fix to help with a situation like that when you're looking at all these information and you're like, oh my goodness, I don't want to do this again. I'm scared. how can you be able to combat that fear after looking up information and being overwhelmed?
I think sometimes I do agree with sourcing information, but I think it's where you get that information from. You just Google and everything come up, But I would suggest utilizing the local websites that would support like National AIDS Commission has a website that has linkages to other services that are provided by both civil society organization and of course the ministry. You also have BFLA. And then when you think about international content, you're looking at World Health Organization and PANCAP and these entities who can provide services or who have provided services, be it their business, and that's their job to provide services. But I think at the end of the day, it does provide a sense of overwhelming experience. But I think it's just for people to recognize that there is a need. Yeah. And I would definitely promote them linking to services here in our country and talking to specialists, talking to social workers who would definitely have this information and also could link them and refer them to the services that are being offered.
Great. Thanks for that, Kieran. So as we're winding on this conversation, I want to check in with Kyla. Are you still with us?
I'm trying to be.
All right. You sound a lot clearer now, so I guess.
Kyla, you know how to move like robot, Kyla?
Yes, Kyla, like slow motion.
All right.
So, I had to warm up first. I was on my phone and then.
Okay. Well, it's good to have you here. So, Kyla, as we're winding down this conversation, let me, for the purpose of our viewers, can you share with us when is this pilot project starting? And again, remind us as to where people can access these services.
Okay. So we are properly kicking off tomorrow.
Yes.
Medical stuff to sort out today. And for us at BFLA, persons will be able to access self-testing from our NHI clinic, which is located at the corner of here in Belize City, at the corner of Central American Boulevard and Mahogany Boulevard from between 8 a.m. and 3 p.m. So when you get to the clinic at the triage booth, you would just need to indicate to the nurse there that you are coming for self-testing. And we have a process in place for that. So you don't have to wait or as you would normally do when you're coming to access clinical services. Right. So we kind of fast track that for persons doing the self-testing.
Okay.
What we're also trying to finalize is using our Orange clinic as well. So we're wrapping up the assessment there so that center could also be approved to be another location for persons to access the self-test.
Yeah. And can you leave one final word as to why people should access this test?
I think knowing your status and taking control of your sexual health is important. Too often we rely on the thought that we are okay. And many times that's not the case. Or if our partner is okay, then I am okay. I don't need to test or whatever. But really, your sexual health is your responsibility. And now there's an additional option to kind of assist you in taking control of that and being aware and being a part of something that's exciting. I mean, I still have my swab here from my DID training. It's like a trophy for me. So I think being responsible is you owe that to yourself.
Awesome.
That is so true. And just to add on to that real quickly, Kyla, I just want people to know that even though you have your partner and you think that the thought that you're safe and you're the only person that partner is with, let's be honest here, honey bun, you don't know sometimes what your partner is going out there doing and bringing back home, because there are many cases where people actually contract HIV because of their partner bringing it into their home. So make sure you know your status. Don't think just because. Don't just be like, oh, we love each other. Be sure and still take your test to know your status. It's important to know. And so I leave off with that. And I'm going to try to throw no stones, but I'm just saying, just be mindful. We can't put too much trust in people. Be able to know our own status or what would go on.
Yes.
And so again, I just want to thank you so much, Kyla, for being here. And thank you, Kieran, as well. Kyla, and I have your earring because you're virtual, so you never come in person. So I don't have your earring. So when you're in person, then you go get your earring. I'd love to end off on that. Yes,
Before
Kieran.
we leave, I also wanted to tell you, in terms of Go Believes, the test kits can also be will be accessed at Go Believes in Belmopan, which is on the Hummingbird Highway, literally at the best building, downstairs of the best building, between the hours of 9 to 5 as well. For those who qualify for this pilot, we will be there also administering this test, and we started from yesterday as well.
Okay, great.
Awesome sauce.
Yes.
So go Belize as well. And so go get your test if you qualify. And with that, we come to our next commercial break. When we're back, we're going to be keeping along the health conversation and talking about pancreas health and diabetic care. So stay tuned for that exciting conversation. Infinite Health will be giving us the scoop. We'll be right back.